Alright, so I hate playing video games with my kids. Hear me out, listen to my reasoning. If you're a parent like me, there's a good chance that you hate gaming with your kids for the same reasons. Believe it or not, this is not clickbait. Really quick, a little bit about me. I am a father of 4, with my oldest being 9, and that is why I feel like I am authoritative enough to talk about these things. So if you want to see more videos where a parent talks about video games or movies or music or what have you, and how it makes them reflect on their child rearing, or don't laugh, they're raising children, click a like and subscribe and we'll go down this rabbit hole together. So I feel like I grew up during the era that witnessed the biggest evolution is gaming, where we went from home consoles and arcades to where we are at now. And in between, we had the rise of PC gaming. We had things like Flash games bringing accessibility of games to a whole new audience. And then we had the introduction and proliferation of fully online consoles, communities, and ecosystems. All of that in like 30 years, which is absolutely insane to think about it if you really do. But I feel like there's something that was not completely forgotten about, but it's just completely taken the backside in the past 30 years. And as a parent that is trying to help their kids explore and find like what their personal favorite types of video games are, this has become a huge frustration and a huge roadblock in that journey. So I'm going to kind of talk about it. I'm going to talk about where I think this all kind of came from. Basically where we started from, where we are now, in my opinion. So if that sounds good, let's go. Sorry, I saw the Mario movie with my kids, and I will say that is probably the most lore accurate piece of fiction adaptation ever made. The jumping animations are choice. So in my opinion, video games have always been inherently social. If you think about the times during the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, where basically like arcades were the places to go to play some of the biggest video games, when all you could have at home was just a Super NES or a Sega Genesis. Playing something like Virtua Fighter in an arcade was basically night and day. There was a point where I was constantly going to arcades because the games that they had there had better graphics, more interesting mechanics, and overall just better gameplay. There's a reason that I'm a huge Metal Slug fan, for one. I would say the second huge arcade boom of the late 90s and early 2000s are the reason why we have the whole fighting game community as a whole, and basically esports and things like that. All of that started from people meeting up at arcades and other similar places, all playing together, meeting together, building a community, and then that community connecting with another community and growing from there until you had enough people that you could say, yo, let's organize an actual tournament, like a tournament. You and your 3 to 7 additional friends all wanted to go play a game together. You guys had to go to the arcade and hope that the Simpsons arcade game was open and you could all get in there. Or if you were really lucky and you had a really fancy arcade, you guys had the X-Men cabinet that let you have like up to 6 people. Hell, in order to actually play Tekken early before it came out on home consoles, you had to get your ass out to an arcade. Same with Pokken Tournament as well. Much like the philosophy of OG Pokemon, these games forced you to go and interact with others. Even if it was within your own circle, you could try to play these games solo, and yeah, they'd be playable and fun, but the whole point was to play with your friends and develop that, like I said, that camaraderie, develop that rivalry, and you all just like building that relationship together. Yes, online relationships and friendships are always going to be valid, but me being the nostalgic millennial that I am, there's nothing that's going to beat those summer nights in the arcade, and that's something that isn't quite the same anymore. But That's just part of the reason why we're here. If you were lucky enough to have a PC that was also internet capable, then you were basically like, you were the really cool kid on the block because you had access and the ability to go to LAN parties. I don't know if I need to explain this, but I'm going to explain this just so I can have other people my age shrivel and die in the comments. But LAN parties were when people would bring their entire desktop computers and or their entire console gaming systems all to one person's house, and you would have to literally have, well, let's say 6 to 10 people, all with CRT monitors, all with full old school PC gaming towers, Nintendo 64s, Nintendo GameCubes, Xbox 360s, all of those hooked together, and then you have to hope that you can get it all playing within a local area network with routers upon routers all connected to each other, and at the same time hoping you don't short out a circuit and then have the host's parents yell at you because we were children. That is actually how I met one of my lifelong friends. So Ben, if you're watching this, hi. But I will say, and I think many people will agree with me, that, well, you could say it peaked in either two parts. For me personally, I say that it all peaked during the Halo 2 release, because that was when Xbox Live was basically the newest and hottest and only thing in regards to the public consciousness, where you could play online with quite literally your entire school. Dreamcast obviously had online capabilities as well, but no one bought it, and if they did, you can only do online stuff with Phantasy Star Online, and obviously that game is not as popular as it should. The next one I would probably say would be the Modern Warfare 2 release, just because everyone was ready to prove how tough and how good shit they were at the game after years of just trash talking on the first Modern Warfare. These moments are where I think that gaming had this really great sweet spot between in-person socialized play and online play as well. Also, speaking of PC LAN parties, did you know that back in the day, you could get away with having literally maybe like 2 copies of the game, and that would be enough to have everyone in an entire LAN party install the game and have it at a playable state where everyone could just, have fun for an evening? Yeah, game sharing used to actually be a lot easier than it used to be. The Nintendo DS, and I believe the first iteration of the 3DS, had a very similar feature. I remember in high school, my friend Jimmy and we went to a overnight broadcasting camp in Branson, Kansas, and he had the new Mario Kart game, but I didn't. But he was actually able to share data from his game and his cartridge over to my DS, so we could both do at least some multiplayer games together. Can't really do anything like that with the Switch as far as I know of. So this whole ADHD addled ramble was really just my way of saying that me growing up with all of this knowledge and basically knowing that gaming was something that was supposed to be more freely accessible to everyone as a whole, that's why I'm really annoyed and upset what my kids have to deal with nowadays. So right off the bat, let's just start with the overall cost for the consumer and the difficulty of setting up a cohesive family gaming system. This is something that I have dealt with across PC, Xbox, and Nintendo, but not yet PlayStation. So PlayStation, if you see this, send me several PlayStation 5s and controllers and PlayStation Plus memberships, and then I can properly assess how well it works for a small to mid-size. Oh, I guess I'm technically a larger family, huh? I have 4 kids. We will say mid. I think it's mid. My family's mid. Okay, so starting with Microsoft. According to my math, you're gonna need around $1,900 to onboard a family of 4 to each have an Xbox Series S and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for each person. This isn't including any extra controllers, TVs, or anything else needed for that setup. We're just talking the console and the Game Pass, which has games on it already. If you're wanting to bump everyone up to the Series X, that's an extra $200 per console, which can easily push you up another grand. So that means for me, being the head of a family of 6, it would cost around $2,900 for everyone in my family to get their own console, their own Series S, and their own Game Pass. Now, in Microsoft's defense, they are testing a Game Pass friends and family type of account right now, but until I know for sure the final price, I can't really calculate that right now. All of this doesn't also take into account the completely convoluted Microsoft family parental control ecosystem that they try to have you set up. First off, I don't want to have to set up an email for each of my kids in order to just get them a profile. That has honestly been the biggest headache, because then I have to remember the passwords for all their emails and all of that stuff. And to be quite frank, I don't really want to have to start having my child start having a digital footprint at the age of 5 just so they can play some Minecraft. You know, that seems a little bit excessive for our day and age. Sony here is probably our worst offender, but like not by much. It costs about $2,100 to onboard a family of 4, each with our own PlayStation Plus premium subscription, and we're only talking about the PS5 digital edition. I decided to do the PS Plus Premium in regards to feature parity for Microsoft and Nintendo, so that is going to be the highest tier in regards to PlayStation. If you wanted to upgrade this setup to a family of 6, you're looking at $3,100. And if you wanted to have the disc drive versions of each console, you're looking at another $100 per head. So if you really want that top tier experience for the whole family with PlayStation, you need to be very well off. Nintendo's a bit better in regards to overall onboarding costs. Getting a family of 4 regular non-OLED Nintendo Switches with the online family pass, $1,200 to get started. So for my family of 6, we're looking at about $1,830, and everyone is in that umbrella of the Nintendo online account. But here's the thing, the Nintendo family online account plan thing or whatever is hot garbage. Or at the very least, the way that I can currently use it is hot garbage and completely worthless. So the first problem with this thing is the fact that you have to have one Switch be the main Switch, which will be the only device that is allowed to be used while offline, or at the very least it will allow you to play downloaded games offline. Every other Switch, if you want to play anything that was downloaded digitally, you gotta be online. We currently have 4 Switches on my home, my wife and I and my 2 oldest kids, and I had to make my son have his Switch be the main outside of the house Switch because he is the one with the most games on it right now. And I also think it's completely absurd that I can't do any type of actual sharing of my digital games with people in my family plan outside of a Wi-Fi network. Like, I bought a whole bunch of digital games under my account in the hopes that I could basically like let my kids in a way have them or play with them, and the only way for them to play the game with me outside of any games that have local co-op or anything like that is me buying multiple copies of the game, which is completely ridiculous because Nintendo games never go on sale, and I am at the point in my life now where I will rarely buy games at full price, maybe a couple times a year if that. So while we technically have PC up next, I think it's just easier to relegate this to Steam because Steam is basically the PC gaming ecosystem right now. Steam has a family sharing option as well, but the thing is you can't have multiple users playing games at the same time. And I don't mean like, oh, you can't play the same game at the same time under different profiles. No, you can't can't play games like at the same time. It's like old school dial-up nonsense. You gotta say, hey, are you on CSGO right now? Yeah, I'm just trying to crank some 90s, Dad. God. Oh, well, I wanted to do a couple pickup games. No, well, you're at a lower tier anyway. But anyway, you get the idea. Like, why would I be able to share games with my friends and family if, once again, one of the main draws of that is the potential to, at the very least, have some way of playing with them, and that leading to a potential full-time purchase when it becomes available or more affordable or means have changed or what have you. Like, imagine how excited I was to start teaching my kids Monster Hunter, only for me to realize that I would either have to buy multiple Switches and multiple copies of Monster Hunter for my kids, which, yeah, you can be like, just do it, but not everyone has that money. Like, we're talking about people more than just like me, and even I don't have that money right now. But if I wanted to get them into World, that would maybe be a little bit better, but oh no, I played the PC version, so in order for me to do that, I would have to have multiple PC setups, and once again, not everyone is lucky enough to have even that. And once again, with Sony, I don't know the quality of Sony's family ecosystem. I'm sure it is fabulous. And Sony, I will be waiting for you to reach out so I can see if that statement I just said is true or not. But yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like, well, it's nice that a lot of these gaming companies are starting to think forward in the sense that, hey, we have a whole generation of gamers now that are somehow getting laid and having kids, so we need to somehow cater to that. I feel like in some weird way, I'm a little bit on the forefront of something like this because I don't see a lot of other people talking about it. But whenever I bring it up, I get a whole bunch of people that agree with me because this just straight up is frustrating and it sucks. And it took one of the things that I was most excited for in my parental journey and just made it like really frustrating. And then we have games as a service. Another instance of me having to set up multiple accounts for my kids, which require multiple sets of emails, which I have to manage and keep track of. And on top of that, I have to worry about things like microtransactions and other predatory gaming things. And even I am not immune to having the random shadow charge of a credit card for a game like Roblox. Because guess what? If you set up a Google family account for Android for all of your kids' devices, your payment methods are linked to all those devices unless you explicitly tell it to not do that. So that's just another point to add to my argument here. I was actually really excited to play games like Halo Infinite with my kids when they were old enough to kind of understand first-person shooter mechanics, and now I have games like Halo Infinite to play with my kids, and that sucks. And what also sucks is right now I'm also pretty healthy into a Final Fantasy XIV addiction, but the thought of letting my kids run around with all those freaks and degenerates is not, I don't like that. Oh, speaking of Halo Infinite, thank you for being another point in the fact that people still want and crave things like local multiplayer, but apparently we just decided that online games as service ecosystems were more important than cultivating in-person experiences that could do more in regards to giving you a lifelong fan to a franchise and giving you more money over time and doing it subsequently over and over and over again over generations and generations, as we have seen with other franchises of like Star Wars and Star Trek and things like that. But I could just be kind of crazy here. But I will say, through all this angst and turmoil, there have been a couple things that have worked out pretty well for me so far that have been easy enough to set up or manage that it hasn't been a complete pain in the ass to game with my kids, and these are my couple tips. First off, Game Pass is probably going to give you the best value in regards to being able to game with your kids. There is a little workaround that I know of that allows you to basically pay for your own parent account and then from there installing it and having your kids play online with you, I'm not going to share it because that's an easy way to get it shut down. I will say that I learned it just by looking online and doing a little bit of searching, but I don't know if I want to spread my little secret in the case that this video gets big, because the second that I say something about it, it's going to get shut down. But I will just say, if you kind of work around the profiles of your Microsoft family accounts just right, you'll be able to get your kids set up with whatever game that you have access to on Game Pass on their account on both console and PC. And speaking of which, my go-to games, at least as of right now for my kids' ages, are going to be occasional Fortnite, Minecraft. I've been playing that since it was in beta, so that's going to be a go-to. Recently tried starting playing some Valheim with my youngin', and we're going to try out Minecraft Legends once we get everything downloaded and updated. Also, thanks to the current state of just emulation as a whole, it's a lot easier to tempt my kids to try older games which have more local couch co-op and couch multiplayer baked into it from the older times. Thank God for emulation, and I will always say that preserving video game history is going to require being okay with emulation. So, preserve history, emulate, don't hate. The last thing I'd recommend is definitely start looking into tabletop and board games. I am a lover of all games, both digital and analog, and getting into like tabletop role-playing games and stuff like that, where the barrier to entry is literally just pencil, paper, and dice. That will get you much more mileage than spending $2,100 to onboard a family of 4 with the PlayStation Plus premium subscription, when y'all can just play some D&D for like 4 hours and be good.
Alright, so this has been another episode of Old Man Yells at Digital Cloud. I just wanted to kind of get the feelings off my chest of how much I feel like there's tedium in local multiplayer now, and how I really just wish that, maybe we could start focusing on local experiences again. I didn't mention It Takes Two or anything by Joseph Fares. Absolutely great video game dev and designer, what have you. He's one of the few people that I think is actually trying to push what can be done in regards to shared storytelling, and I absolutely love it. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down below. One request, I guess, leave a comment for engagement, please, pretty please. If you want more stuff that is much like this, I'm gonna leave a video over here somewhere for you to check out. And yeah, follow me on socials, leave a comment, like, subscribe, do all the YouTube-y thingies, and if there's anything that you've been thinking about in regards to parenting and gaming or stuff like that, let me know. Maybe I'll talk about it if you want me to. So yeah, thank you again for watching. Thank you for joining me in my kids are asleep editing area. But yeah, glad to be here. Thank you again for your time, and hope you enjoyed. See ya.